Sí, sí, muchas gracias. Yeah. Muchísimas gracias.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right.
Buena suerte.
Muchas gracias.
Caminata.
Hasta luego. It's about 10 a.m. now. The drive from La Paz to Cohoni here was about 3 hours through some of the most rugged roads I've ever had to drive on. And it's times like these where I really wonder what I've gotten myself into. This village is at about 12,000 feet, so at the same height as La Paz. I'm feeling it, especially with a 30-pound pack. I'm sleeping at about 14,800 feet tonight, which is higher than I've ever been in my life. I just spent the past hour or so pretty much going straight uphill, off trail. As far as I can tell, there's no trail here. I'm finally picking up a very faint trail, but now I'm gonna stop for a drink and then just continue on going up. Just climbed straight up that hill because I noticed I was off track. I don't know how I got off track, but I think I was just following that aqueduct, and now I'm on a road, an old gravel road, so I hope to make better time until I make it to camp, because I've only got about 2 hours of light left. It's generally not a good sign for the temperatures at night when you see an entire waterfall frozen, but it's pretty damn cool. Right now, according to the map, I'm at 14,800 feet. It's the tallest point I've ever been to in my life, but I plan to go even higher on this trip. I thought this was an emergency shelter, but these are toilets. So I think I'm going to camp here tonight. I didn't bring fuel with me because I just didn't have a lot of volume. Since I didn't bring fuel, I'm cold soaking my fettuccine alfredo, so I'm looking forward to some cold leftovers. I also brought butter, but clearly it's not going to taste very good in cold soaked fettuccine alfredo, so I may just chuck this at some point. It's about 4 a.m. right now, and I just haven't been able to sleep because of a headache. I thought I had acclimatized enough spending 3 nights in La Paz to camp at this level, but unfortunately I probably needed one more night. But anyway, I took another leave to try to kill the pain a little bit, just so I can maybe sleep a couple hours. But tomorrow I'm gonna have to descend, and I'm gonna get to my next campsite by a different route, but my next campsite is at 10,000 feet, so that should be a little bit better. last night it got pretty cold. The water in my water bottle froze partially, even though I had it inside my mitt. I was smart enough to put my water filter in a plastic bag inside my sleeping bag, so it didn't freeze last night. Yeah, I don't have any fuel, so I'm having cold coffee and cold cereal for breakfast this morning. Actually, I decided to pass on the toilets because there's a lot of poop on the seats. I do have to say that this is probably the best campsite I could have hoped for. The ground is flat. It's dry. It was easy to get my stakes in. There's an outhouse here. Beautiful, beautiful morning view. And the thing about this environment is it's so incredibly dry that even though during the night a lot of the moisture on my tent froze, a cloud bank rolled in, by morning it was gone. Everything was completely dry. So I was really worried about the rain last night because it was predicted, but there was no rain. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for better weather or a better campsite. Well, I certainly didn't set any speed records this morning. It took me about 2 hours to get out of camp. But it's so cold here in the shade. I'm hoping that once I get into the sun, it'll start to warm up. But right now, my fingers are numb. So last night, I had, moderate to severe headache. I took an Naproxen to kill the pain, but I think that made me reconsider my original route, which was to go high and go over a 16,000 foot pass today. And I just think that probably is not a good idea. So I'm going to stay low today, and rather than go over the ridgeline, I'm actually going to take a lower route, which is going to probably add another mile, but I think it'll be just a little bit easier on my body. A bit of a bummer because it would have been a really pretty view, but I think I just have to play it safe. I've got about 15 or 16 miles to my next campsite, and the good news is that pretty much all the way is downhill road walking, so it should go pretty quickly. The bad news is that it's all sun exposed and there are absolutely no water sources as far as I can tell along the way. So I decided to fill up here rather than chance it. When you're at high altitude, you definitely don't want to get dehydrated. One of the things that I've noticed along this route over the past day, and it's similar to places in Europe, is that there are a lot of these old abandoned structures here, and I'm guessing that they're just like they used to be barns or shelters for herders, and for some reason they've either relocated, or maybe there's just less herding in this area because I've heard that the area is going through more of a drought, and the grass and the pastures just might not support as many animals as they used to. I had to stop for a shade and a water break. It's not really warm out, but the sun does dry you out. But yeah, this area is so dry and so barren. It's like the Badlands times 100. 6:30 p.m. and the sun is going down. I've just got a little bit of twilight left, and I'm about probably, I would say, an hour away from my intended destination. But the good thing is the rest of the way is going to be on roads, so I think I can hike it in the dark okay, and I'll just have to see if I can find a good tent spot. Well, I couldn't get the stakes into the ground, so I found the biggest boulders I could and secured them, each with about 30 pounds of boulders. So I'm hoping this will hold for the night. I've set up my tent right next to the river, right next to a bridge, and I would say about 10 people have gone by, so I think my cover is blown. So I don't think there's any possibility that people don't know about me here, especially since the town consists of about 20 people. But they all seem pretty nice. I ran into a couple of them and I chatted on the way down in my crappy Spanish. But you know, everyone here is a farmer. They're nice people. I don't expect to be murdered tonight. You never know. The only thing I think I'm bothering right now is the dogs, because they really don't like my headlamp and they really don't like the light that I'm creating in this spot. Anyway, time for cold-soaked fettuccine alfredo, some chocolate, and some chocolate chip cookies. See you in the morning. I was a little worried about security last night because I saw a lot of cars drive by, and I know they could see my light from the road, so you just never know. But overall, you know, I guess after a while I just relaxed and fell asleep. It dropped below freezing last night, as evidenced by the frost on my sleeping bag, but it wasn't too cold. And I could breathe because I was only at 10,000 feet. But today I'm headed to the town of Palca. It's Sunday, and I'll get there about 10, so I don't know if anything's going to be open. And then after that, I'm gonna regain all the altitude that I lost yesterday and get back up to about 14,000 feet and sleep at a lake somewhere up there. My knees were aching all last night, and they're kind of aching this morning. I'm hoping that once I get the blood flowing, they'll start to feel better. I've stopped for a shade break on the side of the road. And I started to think about just how dirty I am. I'm covered with dirt and animal crap and my own crap. And all my food is crushed and is basically a powder. And just how in our normal lives, we need to organize everything so much. And in reality, it's a big waste of time. We just waste so much time over-organizing everything, and over cleaning, and just over planning, and we don't necessarily need to do that. I'm in the town of Palca right now, and it's bigger than I thought it was going to be. The people in La Paz gave me the impression that I wouldn't be able to resupply here, but it looks like a pretty big town. I mean, there's several big tourist buses here, and looks like quite a few buildings. Maybe I'll be able to get something to eat. Those were definitely the most disgusting public restrooms I've ever been in the world. I spent about an hour having lunch at that rotisseria, and it was really good, but the entire meal cost me 20 Bolivianos, which is about $3 American. So a pretty good deal for steak, sausage, rice, soup, and a Coke. I've got about 10 miles to go before my camp at a lake around 14,000 feet. It's sunny and it's warm in the sun, but it's actually pretty cool out. Another interesting thing about all these little towns is they have many taxis. They're little vans, and they just go from homes to the town back and forth. I don't know how much they cost, but it makes a lot of sense because if you lived out in a home somewhere away from town, you'd be walking everywhere. And this gives people a chance to get to the grocery store, buy some stuff, and then get back home, you know, in an hour instead of a day. Hola, buenas. Back there on the trail, there was a washout and there was a super thin bypass. And I was pretty nervous. If I'd slipped, I probably would have taken a pretty bad fall of about 50 feet. Not a sheer cliff, but it would have been a really bad slide. So I think my advice to myself is to take the road if you can. I'm happy to say that there's a road the rest of the way to the lake, so that's going to make it easier. For tonight's dinner, we have cold-soaked, freeze-dried curry, I think. Anyway, it'll be a nice change from fettuccine alfredo. It's 7 a.m. now, and the night was pretty cold. I have both my down vest and my down parka inside my bag on top of me. What I'm more worried about is not acclimatizing, because last night I woke up with, again, a pretty bad headache. Had taken a leave, do some deep breathing, so I'm not fully acclimatized. And it's only 14,000 feet here. I just hope that over the next few days that my body just gets used to the altitude, because otherwise it's going to be really painful. And I'm going to have to probably back down and reroute. I also discovered last night that my sleeping pad has a slight leak around the valve, and throughout the night I have to blow air into it. But it's not too bad now. Hopefully it won't get worse. At least my water didn't freeze, so I can make my cold coffee. It's 8 now. I've broken my camp pretty much. I've just probably got another 30 minutes before I pack everything up. But today is going to be about a 16-mile day with a 2,000 foot gain initially, up to a little over 16,000 feet, which will be the highest I've ever been in my life. And then tomorrow I'm going to try to do a 20-mile push to get to my refuge a day early. I wish I'd gotten started an hour earlier, but it was just so cold this morning. So far along this trail, I've encountered a dog carcass and a llama skeleton, indicating to me that this is not always a safe environment. This is a pretty harsh environment. Well, I made it, didn't vomit, didn't collapse. I'm at about 16,000 feet right now, the highest I've ever been in my life. And I think I feel like heading down to a little bit lower altitude. The descent here looks incredibly steep and dangerous. I think I'm gonna avoid what Gaia says is the main trail because it looks like it's pretty gravelly and the probability of a slip seems pretty high. So I'm actually gonna descend through this rocky area here because it looks like there's enough flatness that I can just zigzag back and forth on the way down. Well, that was a very steep, potentially dangerous descent off that pass. It does look like, I'm looking up the trail now, and it does look like the trail is a little more defined here. And then zigzagging through the rocks and connecting up a little bit higher probably would have been the best bet, but I came down a little to the left. Fortunately, the soil here is so loose. It's almost like a slush. It's like a snow slush. So I would say if I had fallen, I probably would have been able to self-arrest with my feet butt down. I might have gotten cut up a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. Hard to know what it was like up near the rocks, but down here I feel a lot more secure in the soil. I would have liked to have stayed up on that pass and taken some drone shots, but there's a big cloud system moving in from the east, and I need to get down and find a safe place to camp. I feel like I'm gonna get rained on or snowed on. Last night I dumped a little too much food, I think, and I'm running kind of low, especially if I can't make it to the refuge tomorrow. But I just asked a little kid back there if there was a store here where I could buy food, and he said in the center of town there's something. So I hope he's right. I'm glad I came to town because there is this little store here where they sell candy bars and sodas. I only have 100 Boliviano bills and I had 110 Boliviano bill, so I couldn't buy cheesy puffs, so that was a bummer. But anyway, I think it was a good stop because it's kind of a nice break from nuts, and it's interesting little town. Well, it was nice to get some sugar and Coke, or at least the local version of Coke. Honestly, I was just getting sick of eating nuts, but I will say these towns are not very beautiful. You know, they're very poor, and there's a lot of garbage everywhere. So, and there's really not much to buy. There's that one store. It's definitely not a sure bet to resupply in these towns. I would say you really can't get more than like a day's worth of candy and snacks from those. Nothing substantial. I think I've lucked out. I found a pretty flat spot. There's a road leading down. There's water access. It's about a half a mile from where I wanted to be. But as you can see, maybe there's a cliff about where I wanted to camp. So that wouldn't have worked out very well. Anyway, it's kind of like just some sort of, I don't know, encompassed rock thing, like a bunch of ancient Incan ruins. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's flat. It's got pretty good soil. So this is where I'm sleeping tonight. I'm going to try to get to bed early and wake up at 5 tomorrow because I really want to make that 22-mile push to the refuge and hopefully get there tomorrow night, and hopefully they'll have a bed for me. If I don't get there tomorrow, then I'll probably take a 0-day like on Thursday, just because, I don't know, I feel like I need the rest. I'm kind of playing it day by day. Anyway, I've got about 30 minutes before my delicious cold-soaked fettuccine Alfredo is ready, and I'm really looking forward to that. It snowed last night, and so I have a thick sheet of ice on top of my tent. Because it's so, it's about an inch of snow, and the route I was going to take today is pretty steep. I just don't trust it, so I'm gonna divert. It'll add a couple miles, but I'll be on roads the whole time. So I just gotta play it safe, and I'm gonna try to make it to the refuge today. Estoy solo.
Solo.
Sí, sí.
La familia se quedó en Estados Unidos.
Ellos no son locos. como yo.
Tú eres loco.
Un
Aventurero.
poquito, sí, sí. I'm at Laguna Estrellani, which is where I wanted to be. I cheated a little bit. I took a taxi for the past 10 miles along the highway, and my legs, I think, are gonna thank me for that. Right now, I'm gonna look to see if they have any food around here, any hot food that I can eat, and then continue on to my refuge. I just spent about 30 minutes sitting down with some Bolivian tourists, enjoying some deep fried pastry and some piping hot api, I think it is, API. It's like a drink, it's like a fruity drink. It was really good. And then they had chicharron, which is a deep fried pork with potatoes. It was so filling, my stomach has shrunk so much that I couldn't finish it. But it was really good. It was really nice to have some hot meat. It may seem that it's sunny and warm right now, but it's actually freezing. And there's this killer wind that comes up periodically and just freezes the hell out of you. And going uphill is just a struggle. I was like, why am I having so much trouble walking uphill? It's because I'm at 16,000 feet. I can barely get enough oxygen. And I hope I can make it to the refuge by sundown. I've still got another 8 miles to go, and I'm not going very fast. Huayna Potosi. Refugio Huayna Potosi. Unfortunately, Gaia has indicated that there's a trail where there actually is none. It goes a short way, but then it just ends in a plain and a bunch of alpine meadows. So I'm basically on the wrong side of the mountain from my refuge, and the only way to get back there is to backtrack my steps several miles, because this will lead me off into the Amazon if I keep going down the road. So I have to go hike back up, which is really strenuous. It's about 2,000 feet of climb from about 13.5 up to about 15.5. But what I'll probably have to do is I'll probably have to go back. It'll probably take me 4 hours to get back to the lake, and then I'll probably have to camp there or take a taxi down into La Paz, and then tomorrow take a taxi back up to the refuge. And then that probably puts me about a day behind on this entire trip. I wasted about 5 hours dropping down 2,500 feet and climbing up 2,500 feet up to 16,000 feet, barely being able to breathe. And then I hitchhiked with the tour group back to La Paz. They had 1 seat left in their van. So they gave me a ride back here, and now I have just decided to get a hotel because it would take 2 hours to get a taxi to the refuge, even if that taxi knew where to go in the middle of the night along thin mountain roads, and I'm not going to take that chance. So tomorrow I'm going to take a taxi in the afternoon to get up to the refuge. What a nightmare. At least I got some good exercise.